So you graduated from Warren High School, and what did you do after that?
I went in the Army shortly after that. And
Were you drafted or were
drafted,
you drafted?
But I went to Camp Landing. I was in anti-tank for a while. Anti-tank was a small howitzer. It became a 75 millimeter and then 125 millimeter howitzer. After I went through basic training, I went overseas, and I was only 17, and I then.
By the way, since you were only 17 at the time, did your dad have to sign?
Yeah, my dad did.
After Camp Landing, you and anti-tank training, your battalion was transported and loaded aboard the United States Freedom personnel carrier, the USS
Right.
General Butler.
Right.
After Camp Landing, you and anti-tank training, your battalion was transported and loaded aboard the United States Freedom personnel carrier, the USS
Right.
General Butler.
Right.
And when you got to Iran, did you know kind of what the next orders would be?
No, when you're on that level in the service, you don't know what the hell's going on. So I didn't know anything except I was on the boat and I went to Iran and then to Casablanca, then went to Antio after that. I joined the 3rd Division there, and my name's in the roster there. But I was joined the 3rd Infantry Division as a radio man. I was a radio man. The rest of the time I was in the Army. Assigned to company headquarters, and you dealt with company headquarters to battalion. Your job was to kind of predict what was going to happen ahead of you, and you had to predict like if you wanted shells brought down, you'd have to tell them 300 yards this way or that way, or you'd simply have to keep in touch with the battalion and tell them what you do and what you're doing. If you wanted shells brought down, you'd have to tell them 300 yards this way or that way, or you'd simply have to keep in touch with the battalion and tell them what you do and what you're doing. But you never knew where you were going. A small radio you had carried on your back. It weighed pretty much. Unless you had a walkie-talkie.
Okay. As the war progressed, your unit landed in southern France. And
we landed in southern France, and from then on I was in France and Germany. We landed in October 15th in southern France. That's when we landed, the whole division landed. And from then on I was with the 3rd Infantry all the time. The French resistance was a myth, really. We'd take a town and they'd come running in or something like that. But they were always Johnny-come-latelys, really, the French resistance was. And they made themselves known. And the first time I got hit was on October of 44. And then I got hit in February 1, 45. That's when I was wounded. But I often have to say, I was wounded on February 1st, but if I had not been where I was, I would be dead. The company commander, I was with him, he said, he used to call me Junior. I said, Junior, you stay here. I stayed there, he went up and got killed. I got hit by the same shell, shrapnel, and he was killed and I was not. But I would have been killed if I had been with him. Yeah. That was traumatic for me at that time. He was, I went to Le Mans in France for my when I was wounded. And then after that, I was reclassified and put into a chemical processing company. And I went from there to Nancy to Reams. First time I got shrapnel, I got hit in the arm. And I was only out for a little while. I was hit here and then hit the chest. And then...
What's the sensation? Is it pain? Is it...
Not bad. Not for... This was not a... That was a superficial wound. When I got hit in the... I got hit in the buttocks. And people make fun of that. That was when I was... And it felt like someone took a 2x4 and hit me in the ass. And really, it gave me a scar, a pretty big scar on my ass. So people make fun of that, and they kid me about it. Some people used to kid me about getting shot in the ass. I had about 50 shots of penicillin because I was, and like from there, after I got out of the hospital, they transferred me. A major transferred me to a chemical processing company, and that's where I had a lot of fun, really. It was really going from a frying pan not into the fire, but from a frying pan out of the fire. When I was reclassified, it was fine. Then I got my stripes. I got my stripes when I was in the chemical processing company. I didn't have my stripes when I was the radio man. It was afterward. When I was in France, at the processing company, I got elevated to a corporal and then a sergeant. When I was reclassified, I went into a hotel in Reims, and they all lived in a hotel. It was a chemical part. The whole company lived in a hotel. Went to a Philip Morris processing center. They put everybody in cigarette places to bring them home. And I was there until I came home before Christmas. I was done. I remember one time, this is funny, we were getting ready for southern France. So the guys took me with them to a whorehouse, okay? And I'll never forget this. There were two whores there. They wouldn't let the girls near me because they said I was a cherry. I was too cherry. They wouldn't let me near me. And I remember this I can see those two girls. One had a yellow dress on down, and the other one had a purple dress, and she was pregnant. And so what they did, they sent me to the Santa Carla Opera House in Naples. This is before southern France. And let me go there to the opera every day for 17 cents. I went there almost every day for a month and a half. But I don't know, I'd be scared to death if one of those guys pushed those prostitutes onto me.
Stephen Ambrose, in his book Citizen Soldiers, noted that the most extreme experience a human can go through is combat infantryman. Ernie Pyle, who was later killed in the war in Japan, noted, quote, "A lot of people have morale confused with desire to fight. I don't know of one soldier out of 10,000 who wants to fight. The old-timer was sick to death of battle.
Yeah.
The new replacements were
That whole
scared to
thing.
death of it."
That capsulizes it right there.
Yeah.
No one wanted to fight. I mean, you don't find anybody that wants to fight. You never do. You may find one guy out of 1,000 or 10,000 that wanted to fight. Most of them are scared to death. Really, they are, because they're afraid they're going to die. In their if they're when I was going around, even when I was in school, I called myself a dog robber. Because if you read Bill Maudlin stuff, you know, when you see the dog and the two guys in the cell, the water coming down. That's the way it was, really was. You had a lot of, you just didn't know what was going to happen. If you're going to go into combat the next day, the chaplain would be in and give you absolution. And so so you're going to, so you wouldn't die in hell. But that's what would happen. They would come out, and so you knew damn well when the chaplain's truck came, or how he had a Jeep, and he'd come in and give you absolution. You knew damn well you were going back into combat.
So, but at some point you see some of your guys shot and killed.
Yeah, I had the guy, when I went in my foxhole in Antio, I went in with a guy that was 35 years old, was married, and his name was Quinn. And I remember not too long after that he was killed. And I remember that very much so, because he was a young, very thin, frail guy. And he was shot. I remember when he was shot in the head, and then he was shot in the throat, in the throat by a sharpshooter, and he was gone. Then you go on to something else, you know. But
there probably isn't even much time to mourn. You sort of keep moving.
No, you don't mourn.
It's been credited with creating the American middle class after the Second World War, the Service Members Readjustment Act of 1944, better known as the GI Bill.
GI Bill, I'd be pumping gas if it weren't for the GI Bill. That's what I was leaving. That's what I was doing when I went in the service. I'd be pumping gas today. If I'd be doing something else besides, because the GI Bill is, you know, they talk about the greatest generation. That was the greatest generation. The GI Bill saved everybody's ass, really.
I can't tell you how many people over the years have told me same story. They went to college, their whole life changed because of the GI Bill.
Remember some things about it, and I think about it, and sometimes you dream about it too, of being under. Once in a while, you dream about the war, about being asked to go back in the war and things like that. It's one of those traumatizing things. You remember those things. I wrote a few things down. I wrote some things to my kids once or twice. I never finished the book I was going to do. I started to do it. I started to do it when I was doing work for Raleigh Kidder. I was writing a book, and I kind of got taken away from that. Probably should be doing it now.